Her voice cracked through the phone, each word dragging a nail across my spine. He held me down. He said, "This is what happens when your loser brother is away." I froze in the middle of the conference hall. Polished floors, polite applause, the dull hum of people networking, none of it mattered anymore. I asked where she was. She couldn't answer through the sobbing. Then a different voice came on the line. Male, amused. "She's learning a lesson. Stay out of it, or you're next." The call ended. For a moment, my hands hung at my sides, perfectly still, like the rest of me had been carved from ice. I looked at the stage. Some man was talking about leadership, innovation. The air smelled faintly of cologne and money. I stood, walked out, and kept walking. 3 states away felt like another world. At the curb outside, I called a number I'd buried in my phone, the kind you keep for the day you hope never comes. He answered on the first ring. No pleasantries, no questions. "Where?" he asked. I told him. I wasn't flying home alone. On the plane, I replayed her voice. Every hitch atween sobs, every tremor. She was 16, my sister, still a kid. I pictured him, my ex-wife's new fiancé. Broad-shouldered, the kind of man who thought size was power. I'd met him once. His handshake was hard for the sake of being hard. He smiled without his eyes. When my marriage ended, I'd walked away clean. No court battles, no screaming matches. She'd told me she needed something different. I never asked what that meant. Now I knew. Not the cheating, I'd guessed that long ago. This was worse. I didn't tell my traveling companion the details. He didn't need them. I just told him who, where, and when. Some men act out of anger, others out of duty. I was doing neither. This was calculation. We landed after midnight. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you notice how loud your thoughts are. I didn't go to her house first. I went to his. From the sidewalk, I watched the dark windows. His truck was parked outside. A dent in the fender. Mud on the tires. No alarm system. He was too arrogant for one. I memorized the layout from the shadows. The back door, the fence, the light over the garage that didn't work. The next day I played normal. I went to the police, filed a report, watched them take notes like they were writing a grocery list. One officer's eyes told me they weren't going to do anything. So I made my own list. I found his social media, his gym schedule, his preferred bar on Fridays. I tracked his fiancée, my ex, just enough to know when she was home and when she wasn't. And I watched my sister. She tried to pretend she was fine. She wasn't. Her eyes avoided mine. She flinched when I moved too quickly. The conference badge was still in my pocket. It felt like a souvenir from another life. 3 days later, I had the footage. Security camera from the neighbor's porch. Grainy, but clear enough. Him dragging her by the wrist, shoving her into the house. I copied it to a thumb drive, printed still frames, dated, time-stamped. That night, I knocked on his door. He opened it, smug already. I handed him the envelope, said nothing. He opened it. His eyes narrowed, then widened. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. I held his gaze until the silence felt heavy enough to crack the walls. Then I turned and walked away. No yelling, no threats, just the weight of what he'd seen and what I could do with it. The next morning, the footage was in 3 places. Emailed to his employer, his gym, and the school where his niece attended. I didn't need to call the police again. I knew they'd call him soon enough. By noon, my ex-wife called me, screaming, cursing, telling me I'd ruined everything. I let her talk. Then I told her, slowly, that I'd known exactly who he was before I got on the plane. That she'd chosen him over my sister's safety. That she'd heard my sister's voice that night and still let him stay in her home. She stopped speaking. I told her there are some things you can't come back from. and she'd cross that line the moment she protected him instead of the child she used to call family. 2 weeks later, he was gone, quit his job, moved out of her house. I never asked where. My sister's laughter started returning in pieces, like small shards of light. She didn't thank me. I didn't need her to. I still had the footage. Not because I'd ever use it again, but because it reminded me of a truth I'd been avoiding. Some betrayals are not accidents. They're choices. And once you see someone's choice clearly, you stop wondering if they'll ever change. You know they already have. For the worse.